Welcome to the Randy Report. I'm Randy Slovacek, your host. I'm also the writer and editor of therandyreport.com, where you can find me every single day on the internet reporting on the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community and its allies. In this week's headlines, former out Congressman and LGBTQ rights icon Barney Frank passed away this week at the age of 86. 2025 saw a sharp increase in anti-LGBTQ violence in Israel, and adult entertainment studio Falcon Naked Sword has gone mainstream with a safe-for-work, non-porn murder mystery starring the studio's popular leading men. All that and more in this episode of The Randy Report. Barney Frank, the trailblazing Massachusetts congressman whose razor-sharp political instincts and unapologetic visibility helped reshape both American liberalism and LGBTQ representation in public life, has died at the age of 86. The Boston Globe reports he had been battling congestive heart failure. For more than 3 decades in Congress, Frank stood at the center of some of the country's defining political battles, from the AIDS crisis and gay rights movement to the fallout of the 2008 financial collapse. He became one of the Democratic Party's most recognizable liberals, while also emerging as one of the most consequential out gay politicians in American history. In 1987, at a time when few national politicians were openly gay and the AIDS epidemic was devastating LGBTQ communities, Frank publicly came out, becoming the first member of Congress to voluntarily do so while in office. His decision helped push LGBTQ visibility deeper into mainstream American life. Frank also became one of Congress's most persistent advocates for federal LGBTQ civil rights protections. For years, he championed the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, known as ENDA, legislation that was intended to ban workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The effort consumed much of Frank's congressional career, but repeatedly stalled amid Republican opposition and divisions within the LGBTQ movement. In one of the movement's most contentious internal fights, Frank drew criticism from transgender advocates in 2007 after supporting a version of ENDA that protected sexual orientation but excluded gender identity protections. Frank argued at the time that a broader bill lacked enough support to pass Congress. Many queer activists viewed the compromise as a painful betrayal, while supporters defended it as a pragmatic attempt to secure at least partial federal protections in an openly hostile political environment. In a series of interviews shortly before his passing, Frank urged Democrats to rethink how they approach some transgender rights debates, particularly around sports participation and political messaging. He argued that Democrats risk turning politically difficult issues into ideological litmus tests, and suggested the gay rights movement succeeded by building public consensus incrementally over time. Frank retired from Congress in 2013 after 32 years in office. He married his longtime partner, Jim Reddy, in 2012, becoming the first sitting member of Congress to enter a same-sex marriage. Rest well, Barney Frank. Something new to watch, and this will really appeal to those folks with a short attention span like I have. Longtime adult entertainment studio Falcon Naked Sword has premiered its first ever mainstream scripted vertical drama, The Last Guest. The short-form series, a fun, safe-for-work, non-porn murder mystery, stars some of the studio's leading men running around a mansion in Speedos. Vertical dramas, also known as microdramas, are serialized shows designed for smartphone viewing. The bite-sized episodes, often only 1 or 2 minutes long, encourage binge watching and usually add up to a movie-length runtime between 50 to 90 episodes. According to the official synopsis, the series follows 5 strikingly handsome guests who wake up at a secluded luxury estate where the host is missing in action and $2 million has been stolen from a hidden vault. When the security system traps them inside the mansion in poolside paradise, suspicion dangerously turns personal. Old rivalries, secret deals, and one deadly betrayal begin to surface as each man fights to prove he isn't the thief or the killer. With each room searched and every lie exposed, the truth becomes harder to outrun. In a house built for pleasure and power, trust is the most dangerous gamble of all. The series premiered this week, and I see there are already 5 or 6 episodes up on YouTube, where you can watch for free. You can also watch for free on TikTok or Instagram. I'll have a link in the show notes. The International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association's European chapter has published its 18th Rainbow Map, a comprehensive look at equality for diverse sexual identities, expressions, and orientations across the continent. The report comes at a time when LGBTQ protections are increasingly under threat across the U.S., with states on track to introduce a record number of bills targeting queer and gender nonconforming communities this year, according to data from the ACLU. According to the new report, after a decade leading Europe in LGBTQ equality, Malta was officially knocked down a spot by the continent's new number 1, Spain. Behind Spain in the ranking are Malta in the number 2 spot, Iceland holding steady at number 3, and Belgium and Denmark at number 4 and 5. Making up the 4 least LGBTQ-friendly nations in Europe were Armenia, Belarus, Turkey, and Azerbaijan, with Russia, of course, taking last place. These countries do little to protect sexual orientation, expression, and representation, going so far as to ban public displays of same-sex and gender nonconforming identities with threats of harassment or jail time. Also in international news, a report published by the Association for LGBTQ Equality in Israel found a sharp increase in anti-LGBTQ hatred in 2025, warning that online abuse is increasingly spilling into public spaces and turning into physical attacks. According to the report, at least one physical assault against an LGBTQ person occurs in Israel every week. Physical attacks accounted for half of all reported public space incidents this year, a notable rise from 32% in the previous report. Cases of extortion and threats also climbed dramatically from 3% last year to 13% this year. The figures also showed that 76% of respondents experienced homophobia in public spaces, 65% experienced homophobia in schools, 53% in private spaces, 51% during military or national service, and 49% experienced homophobia in interactions with state institutions. In a national survey conducted for the first time as part of the report, 91% of respondents said they had experienced LGBTQ phobia over the past year, but only 7% said they reported it. One of the most disturbing sections of the report focuses on what the association describes as a wave of organized attacks against gay men through dating apps, mainly Grindr. Since late 2024, the association said it documented more than 20 cases in which attackers allegedly created fake profiles, arranged meetings with victims, and then ambushed them in groups of 5 to 10 people, sometimes masked and armed. The report also found that transgender people continue to bear the brunt of anti-LGBTQ harm. The trans community accounted for 54% of all reports to the reporting center this year, up from 43% in 2024. And that brings me to the end of this episode of the Randy Report. If you enjoy catching up on LGBTQ news in a quick podcast, I'd appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends. Plus, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. I like to think of the Randy Report as the 60 minutes of gay news, only shorter. And remember, you can find me every single day on the internet at therandyreport.com, where I cover the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community and its allies. Thanks for listening, folks. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.